The Sharks find some offense, and at least this time they didn't give up 10 to the Penguins.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today, the Sharks, they lost again. They lost again to the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-3. But the offense looked a little bit better, actually kind of dominant at times against a bad Pittsburgh Penguins team. So we're going to talk about that, dig into the numbers of this game, and then have a clip from a conversation I had with the guys over at Locked On Pens, where we discuss what the Penguins should do with their first round pick, which is still scheduled to be a top 10 pick as the time of that we're recording this. So we have a conversation of kind of what the Penguins should do, what the Sharks should kind of root for, all that fun stuff. So before we get into that, just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks again your first listen. So let's start with this 6-3 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And there's a lot of weird stuff in this game. 13-5 tonight because Jacob McDonald being out because dealing with an illness. Sounds like it's kind of running rampant right now. Something to keep in mind right now, even though the Sharks are on this kind of East Coast trip, the Barracuda will be in Illinois when they take on the the Rockford Ice Hounds. I think that's what it is. But anyway, they'll be over in the East, or kind of in the Midwest themselves, as the Sharks now head to Columbus. So if the Sharks need to pick up somebody defensively, if they need an emergency recall, again, especially since they played with less than 6 defenders, they can easily grab somebody, whether it's Shakir Mukhamadullin, Jack Thompson, whoever they want to grab, they can grab somebody. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. But we'll look at some of the defensive numbers. But overall, this game was very much the Sharks kind of easily could have won this game, at least in the first period, right? The Sharks were definitely the better team for the first 20 minutes. And then, the Penguins it was the beginning of the third period. And I think that's where that 13-5 comes in, where the defense is having to kind of play so much more, right? Ferraro played 27 minutes tonight. Thrun played 24 minutes. Like, a lot of guys kind of playing a little bit more minutes than you would expect. And I think that's that kind of war on them. And that's what happens when you play kind of a man down for especially on the blue line, right? Guys kind of having to play more, and then you get those kind of mental lapses. But in this game, though, it felt like the Sharks could actually build and sustain offense, which is something we haven't really seen from them recently. I know they played some little bit better teams as of late. But this was, I think, some really sustainable offense, which was good to see against a Penguins team that is also looking forward to the summertime here. But and I think the other kind of big thing in this game was the Mikael Granlund injury scare. If you didn't see it in the second period, he kind of gets his knee caught and kind of buckle, like it kind of bends weird, and it needs help getting off the ice. Like, can't put weight on his knee. It looks like, I thought he was done for the season. I think most people who saw the injury thought he was like done for the year, just because of the way he landed and the way his knee, like, your knee is just not supposed to bend that way. But he misses like a shift. I don't know if he actually missed a shift. Back on the bench, no problem. Mikael Granlund, and so to assist him, it got you thinking for a minute, like, where would this team be without Mikael Granlund, who's been such an important part, right? He leads the Sharks in points, and has been such a boost for this team. I think, like, most fans, myself included, didn't have much for expectations for Granlund coming into this year. And again, Granlund's been amazing, just kind of what he has done for the Sharks, especially for the young players, right? You've seen Zetterlund have a career year. Zetterlund's stapled to Granlund for basically the entire season. Anthony Duclair before his trade, that line really had found some great chemistry, and that was, I think, one of the reasons why Duclair was ended up traded, because of the chemistry and that you had seen out of them. And I'm actually looking forward to having Granlund on the team next year. I still long term don't think he's a long term piece, but I'm looking forward to Granlund being on the team next year, and what his line is going to look like. Hopefully, if the Sharks have some new pieces coming in, whether they're top prospects, whether they sign some new players, they're going to have plenty of cap space this summer with plenty of holes to fill. I'm curious to see kind of where Granlund fits. I still think he's better as a 2C, but he has done admirable, especially with the amount of ice time that he's played, kind of the role that he has been having to kind of, that's been kind of forced on him because of, again, all the injuries, everything that's gone wrong with this team. It's good to see Granlund kind of taking this opportunity, especially with how poorly it ended in Pittsburgh. And I'm sure he would have loved to kind of come back and score a goal and kind of like maybe and win this game, to kind of just a nice little, like, yeah, I know Erik Karlsson's great, but like, I'm not too bad either. So it was good to kind of see him from there. Magnus Crona, I think he had another kind of solid game. Interesting though, where a lot of the goals from him, kind of those point shots, right? The Erik Karlsson goal, yes, the first goal, whereas the Erik Karlsson point shot kind of bounced around, right? Not much you can do there, but a lot of the other ones where it's those point shots that he's not able to kind of read it correctly, or they kind of get tipped at the last minute. Something to keep an eye on there, where maybe it was just this game, but those shots from out far, that's something that tracking, right? Kind of getting yourself in the right position. Maybe he needs to be a little bit more aggressive coming outside the crease, but just something to kind of, as he gets a little bit more game tape, teams are going to be kind of focusing on that. Like, okay, this guy's right. We always knew, Adin Hill, before he got traded, we all like, it was glove hand. That's something that he's worked on, right? Like picking those flaws out of goalies, right? Before Capo Kakinen got traded, right? How many goals did you see 5-hole from him? It was just, everything was low on the ice. I wonder right now if the way we continue to see, if Magnus Crona continues to put more game tape, teams are going to just be like, just keep bombing shots from the point and trying to get those tips, because he's not tracking those right now and not kind of getting out in front of them or getting himself in a good enough position. So just something to kind of keep in mind, and it's just something I'm kind of tracking here. So I expect Crona is going to start one of the games this weekend, and then we'll probably see Devin Cooley making his NHL debut at some point, actually getting his first NHL start. So I'm curious to see Cooley. So that's either going to be a shutout or you're going to give up like 6 goals. There's no in between with that one. So be fun to see. So we'll continue here in a minute. We'll talk about, kind of dig into the numbers of this game, look at how good the Sharks were kind of in this first period and how kind of things fell apart for them. So we'll do that here in just 1 minute. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you just subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from another retirement account with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. So get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year through the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker dealer. All right, let's dig into the numbers of this game. And again, the Sharks offense, not too bad in this game. So we had 49-19 of 5v5 time. Sharks have 69 of 50 shot attempts in favor of the Sharks, 57.98 to 42.02. Actual shots was 30-27 in favor of the Sharks at 5v5. Scoring chances 25-20 in favor of the Sharks. High danger chances 10-7 in favor of the Penguins, and then 2.29 to 2.37 expected goals for in favor of the Penguins. And again, very much Sharks came out strong, kind of hot out the gate. Was really taking. I mean, the Penguins were booing. Penguins fans were booing the Penguins like 3 minutes into this game, as the Sharks really just kind of came out of the gate like a man possessed here. But Penguins kind of crawled back into this game, starting kind of creating some shots. And I think that beginning of the second period is where you really saw the Penguins kind of take control of the game. And then that's where, I think they earned some opportunities there. It was still a very close game with a 3-2 score at that point. But I think some mental miscues at the beginning of the second period beginning of the third period is where you saw those 2 goals. Right, it's with the Sharks. It's always like when they give up 1 goal, it's just like boom, boom. It's always that kind of 2 goals right in a row there, and the Sharks just made it interesting. I honestly thought they were going to tie the game, just because of the way that they were playing and the way at the end of the third period where they were kind of controlling the pace of play. Yes, they were down by 2, but the empty netter kind of ended up sealing it for the Penguins. So, but yeah, that second period, the expected goals for the Penguins 1.24 to 0.88 after the first period, where the Sharks had a 0.94 to 0.69 expected goals for. So that Penguins, Sharks got their opportunities in the second period. They just scored the 1 goal, but the Penguins really kind of they rode the wave in the first period and really kind of established their game and did a good job of getting in front, right? And you look at kind of a lot of the goals for the Penguins, it's a lot of tips, right? Tips in the high slot, those where the kind of the point shots, and that's how the Penguins, I think, won this game, was kind of getting the traffic in front of Magnus Crona, which is again not what we had seen, especially the last game where Crona was pretty clean in front of the against the Flyers. The Penguins made it a point to kind of make the crease really muddy. So looking at the forward lines, probably going to be a little bit wonky here because, again, playing 13 and 5. So we'll kind of focus on some of the main guys here. Barabanov, Granlund, Zetterlund played 13-31, 20-11 shot attempts, 7-5 actual shots on 4. Did have the 1 goal. Good job by Zetterlund. Good job by Barabanov. So Barabanov kind of sets that play up, right? Kind of goes in, turns around, and just kind of finds some space. Also, Thrun, I thought, had a really nice game today. One of his better games I've seen in a while, but was able to kind of find Addison, kind of make a really nice cross ice pass, and then Zetterlund cleans up a puck there. But really, this line just continues to play well. And I think Barabanov was, again, he's not Anthony Duclair, but I think he's kind of filling in really nicely in this top line right now. But 1 goal for 0.76 to 0.34 expected goals for, 12-2 scoring chances, 3-1 high danger chances, with 7.72 zone starts. The Cunnin, Eklund, Zadina line played 11-09, 11-13 shot attempts, 4-8 actual shots, did give up 2 goals, 0.4 to 0.41 expected goals for, 2 to 5 scoring chances, 2 to 2 high danger chances, and then 163 for the zone starts there. Again, continue to kind of monitor that line there. Again, they're not going to be the best defensively, but good to see them kind of create a little bit more offense we have seen from them the recent weeks. So the kind of past couple games. Bordelot, Sturm, and Klim Kostin. Congrats to Kostin on getting his first goal in teal. 7-12, 17-7 shot attempts, 7-5 actual shots. 0.32 to 0.5 expected goals for, 6-4 scoring chances, 1 to 2 high danger chances, 5-1-4 for the zone starts there. So again, that line just kind of working right now, and you could see I really liked Bordelot. You could see kind of the creativity with Bordelot. Wasn't afraid to kind of get into the high danger areas. Let's let them kind of continue to go. So the other lines, again, were a little bit messy because they were kind of rotating guys out between Smith, Carpenter, Bailey, and LeBanc. A little bit hard to kind of put because they usually only played like a shift or two together between some of those guys. So, and then on the defensive front, so we had, again, only 5 defenders in this game. And Marc-Edouard Vlasic leading the way in Corsi 4, 31-14 shot attempts, 68.89. Henry Thrun, second, 28-13, 68.29. And then Kyle Burrows, 20-16, 55.56. Ferraro, 37-32, 53.62. And then Kalen Addison, 22-25 shot attempts, with 46.81. So good to see, again, from those guys who've definitely have had some of their issues, especially the Thrun Vlasic pairing. I know, again, the pairings are all funky in this game, but I really thought Thrun had one of his better games that we had seen from him in a while. And good to see our good friend Marc-Edouard Vlasic get a goal. It's always nice when Pickles has a goal. Who would have thought Marc-Edouard Vlasic would have had more goals than Logan Couture this year? Not I. And then digging again with Magnus Crona. So in all situations, did have 5 goals against. Expected goals against was 2.74. Made 25 saves on 30 shots, 0.83 save percentage, 3 high danger saves on 6 high danger shots, 7 mid danger saves on 8 mid danger shots, and 14 out of 15 on the low danger. So again, I'm really curious to see if teams and start bombing from the point and try to get those tip shots and see, again, if with his tracking and if he's how well he deals with kind of the chaos in front of him. And that's very hard for a lot of goalies, but I'm just curious to see if that kind of becomes the game tape for Magnus Crona. So overall, though, I think Sharks, they were played hard. They made it interesting, and they continue to lead the way in the tank, as well as help their own getting another first round pick by knocking the Penguins, who I think are 10th right now, depending on what happens with the Vegas Calgary game. If Vegas wins there, I think Calgary jumps in front of Pittsburgh and moves that pick to number 11. So we'll talk about that pick here with our good friends over at Locked On Penguins. So this conversation I had with them, did a full episode. So if you want to check out the full episode, we did a preview episode. You can go check that out over at the Locked On Penguins podcast, wherever you get podcasts, or you watch on YouTube as well. But I really wanted the pick. We kind of make our cases what to do with this, the Penguin guys, because it's easy for me to say, like, from the Sharks' point of view, this is what we want the Penguins to do. So we kind of talked about what they're thinking of doing with the first round pick. So so we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. Grocery bills are so expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibata app and get cash back every time you shop. Ibata is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. You can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibata user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. You can use that to buy a flight that you've been eyeing on, go to the game that you're dying to go to, or a fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps just give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibata, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join more than 50 million users and earn cash every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONNHL when you register. So go to App Store or Google Play, download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, we're back here on a special edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. We're joined by JD Young of Locked On Sharks. I'm Patrick Damp. That's Hunter Hodes, as always, here on the Locked On Penguins podcast. So no need to continue to delay the thing that everybody surely will want to talk about, whether it's revisiting the deal itself or what could happen here in this offseason. And that is the blockbuster deal that brought Erik Karlsson to the Pittsburgh Penguins following his Norris Trophy season last year with San Jose. And I'm just going to ask JD right off the hop, right off the bat, you guys want that pick?
I do want that pick, that 2024. And I've every time anything Penguins comes up, anybody asks me, what do you do with the pick? Do you want the 2025, 2024 pick? I am very much cash out right now. I think that pick is at its best value for the Sharks, right? And again, roll the dice 2025, unprotected pick. I just think the avenues for the Penguins to be better, whether it's a little bit better, whether it's playoff better, whatever, I think there's just too many avenues, whether it's just better puck luck. There's too many avenues for these Sharks to kind of be in a worse spot when it comes to the pick. And the 2025 draft is supposed to be a better draft class than this year. But again, I want a top 10 pick in this year's draft class. And I think that's what makes the most sense for me as a Sharks fan, because I think you'll end up with 3 picks from the 2023 draft class, 2 picks from the 2024, and then 2 picks from the 2025 between the Sharks and the Vegas. And I think right there, that is your foundation. That is your new core for your new great Sharks team. So please send me the pick. And I think my thinking of why it makes sense for the Penguins is you guys can tell me if I'm an idiot or not, but just like you want to pay your credit card, that way it gives you more opportunities in 2025, right? If maybe the Penguins come out a little bit better, they can actually use that 2025 pick in the draft, like to trade at the trade deadline if you want to go get big game hunting. And I think it just gives you more flexibility in the future, where if the Penguins completely bottom out, then you have a pick in a much better draft class where you can add a guy who might be able to help you out a little bit more. Shayna from The Athletic was talking about where this pick, unless it's number one, unless it's Magnus Crona, nobody in this draft class is helping the Penguins win in the next 2 years, right? And that's the goal for the Penguins, is try to get another cup for Crosby and company. Nobody they draft right now is seeing an NHL time for 3 to 4 years.
So it partly kind of depends for me. Like if this is a top 5 pick and say they do bottom out and they actually get more draft lottery luck, and I know that would make so many people on the internet mad, and I would be drinking their tears forever just because of everything that's happened. If that pick is definitely in the top 5, JD, I'm keeping it. Heck, even if it's number 7 or number 8, I think I'm keeping it. And the reason is, if Carolina goes to the Cup final, the Penguins get an extra first-round pick for this year. I would keep that pick if it's in the top 10 and dangle that other pick to try and get immediate help. And I know at that point for the Carolina one, if they get to the final, it's almost like a second rounder, but I still feel like they can attach that pick in a prospect or two, or maybe a roster player to try and get more immediate help for next season, which is more important, obviously, right now, just because they're not going to be making the playoffs this season. But that's how I view it, at least for now. I'm leaning towards keeping the pick for this year, especially if Carolina can get to the final. But if Carolina does not get to the final, then I'll have to maybe rethink my tune a little bit. I think maybe if it's at number 10 specifically, I might lean towards giving it to the Sharks. But if it's, top 8, especially top 5, I think I'm keeping it.
So
Yeah.
something to keep in mind with that is like, you have to like, yes, it's everyone talks about like, oh yeah, like let it drop. But the other teams have to pass you, right? And like looking at it where we're at right now, like Ottawa is 9 points behind the Penguins. I don't expect Ottawa, who's number 6, right? I don't expect Ottawa like to get 9 points more than the Penguins here than the next, 15, 20, whatever, how many games we have left. Montreal is like, they're 5 points back, but again, that's still like a really bad team. And like, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, we just need to like climb the tank standings, but it's like, you have to root, like, as someone who's been watching a lot of Blackhawks games, you have to, like, these teams actually have to win. And there's a reason why they're bad, because they don't win a lot of games. So it's like, it's that kind of delicate balance. And unless they Bettman rigs it for the Penguins to get the first overall pick, and then I'm going to be on this show throwing a fit for as Celebrini just joins in to the Penguins. But I think it's, if I had to guess, I think this pick is going to be like 8, 9, or 10. That's my guess, is where this thing is going to end up.
I'm mostly with Hunter in that if it ends up top 10, I do want to keep it, just for the same reason he brought up. If Carolina goes to the final and you get that second first round pick, that can give you more options this summer. The other reason that I would want to keep it along with that is we've seen both in some of the moves he's made since becoming the Penguins general manager and president are kind of the same things he did in Toronto, to where he can often make quantity deals, and say you pick it 6, 7, 8, 9, where in that top 10, yeah, that person may not help in the next 2 to 3 years, but you could also theoretically say to, another tanking team, Anaheim, Chicago, Ottawa, Arizona, like, hey, we got this guy 7th overall last year. We can send him to you if you send us 2, 3 prospects, because that does feel like what Kyle Dubas wants to do. Is he wants to not only retool on the fly, but kind of restock a bare cupboard. And if you have that early pick prospect, and then that 31st or 32nd overall pick from Carolina, I think you can do a lot more. But all of it for me hinges on if Carolina makes the final and you have that last pick. If not, I'm with you guys in that you can give San Jose that pick back and just look for 2025.
So as Sharks fans, we want to root for Carolina to not make the finals. Because I want that first round. I want that I want a top 10 pick, 2 top 10 picks this year. Feels, again, I know the draft class is not as good, but as the Sharks are looking to try to add, I've already spent that pick on a defenseman. I want that pick to be a defenseman. That's why I'm very invested in what this pick turns out to. And it's such a tight group there between these teams here, especially with where we might not know what this pick's going to be until the very, very last day. Because you have about 8 teams that are within 10 points here. So this pick could fluctuate so much going through between now and the end of the season. So
it'll be interesting, just because outside of this game against the Sharks, they got 2 more against the Blue Jackets. There are not too many games where I can look at the Penguins schedule right now and be like, oh, they're guaranteed to win these games. And heck, I'm not even sure I can say that about the 2 games against Columbus left, and even the game against the Sharks, just because of the way the Penguins have been playing over the last couple of weeks. They have only scored 2 goals in the last 4 games. They just lost to a Senators team that had lost 7 in a row heading into this game, and they played 2 good periods, but they took a whole period off. And you can't do that in the NHL. So I look at this schedule and I feel like this could be potentially an all-time tank for the Penguins, because the rest of the March schedule, and honestly the rest of the schedule overall, outside of these 2 games against Columbus and this game against the Sharks, are against mostly bona fide playoff teams. So JD, we could see a historic tank here for the Penguins if their play does not get much better.
Yeah, their strength of schedule on Tankathon is the 13th toughest going into the final stretch here with 18 games left to play. They do have some tough games coming up. But even some of the teams around them, like Arizona's strength of schedule is actually tougher. Ottawa's got a tougher strength of schedule. Montreal's got the toughest strength of schedule. So again, it could just be a lot of losing from a lot of bad teams here.
Yeah, nothing like bad hockey in March and April. Something that, for the most part, the three of us aren't used to because we've had some good teams over the past. 15 years.
I've been watching plenty of bad hockey, buddy, since 2019.
Hey, listen, the Sharks of the 2010s are some of my all-time favorite teams outside of the Penguins. So I guess I can give you that from 2019 to now. But just like us, you got to watch a lot of very good hockey.
I got to watch a lot of very fun hockey for 15 years, and that bill comes due. So
yeah, we're learning that right now.